Okay.
here is like the leadership level.
Right.
It was great
Yep.
being in person all day and working with groups. I can't imagine what happens when it has to be virtual.
A lot of Zoom breakout sessions.
Yeah.
It is not the same.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm tired of looking at screens, but
I know so many people younger than me, they're used to it and they just do it. And I'm like,
I don't see Pam in yet. She hasn't popped up on the participants list yet.
I have 7 o'clock. Should we wait till 7:01 and then get started?
Sure.
I have 7:01 now.
All right.
Shall we call the meeting to order?
Sure.
All right. Looking at the consent agenda, we do not have a foundation report that I have seen.
No, I never heard back from Stu whether one was coming or not. So I will make a motion to accept items 1, 2, 3, and 4 from the consent agenda, leaving out the foundation report that we do not have.
And I see that Pam has joined us.
Hello.
Pam, we are about to vote on accepting the consent agenda items 1 through 4, since we did not receive a library foundation report. We have a motion to accept items 1 through 4. Is there a second?
second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
I'm gonna abstain. I wasn't there, so.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember, have we gotten reports from the Library Foundation on a regular basis? Because I thought, I didn't look back to see if we were missing a couple of them.
So they were supposed to meet last week, but because several members were not able to make it, they were going to meet this week instead. I know sometimes I get the reports. I do attend the meetings though.
Okay.
So yeah, I definitely have the reports in my inbox. I was under the impression that they were sending them to Carol. So I can see if I can dig those out.
Do you remember, Carol?
I have not received them regularly. Every month I ask for them, and I would say less, certainly not more than 50% of the time. Let's give them 50-50. Some months I get one, some months I don't.
I was too lazy to go back and look over everything, but the fact, Catherine, you go to every meeting, so if there's anything relevant, you'll let us know, so we'll know one way or another, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. I see Mr. Paul has joined us. Instead of making him sit through our reports, why don't we jump ahead to new business and let's discuss the dog park proposal.
All right, I'll make a motion to move up new business item 1, dog park proposal on our agenda.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
All right.
All right. You guys all hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you. Yes. You have frozen. All right, you're moving again. Sorry, we couldn't hear you if you were speaking to us. Did we all have a chance to read the information that was sent ahead?
Yes.
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 There you go. I have a better signal now, so I'm good.
Okay.
So essentially, the nuts and bolts, the long and the short of it is that we did get approval from the town for that land behind Station 3 that abuts the library. They asked that we speak to the library board because our plan A for an entrance would come directly off the parking lot of the library versus our plan B which we're looking at weaving something up from Roosevelt. DPW has essentially given the blessing for parking at Booger Marsh. We're hoping through signage that nobody clogs up the library. But this is why I'm in front of you guys.
Okay. Do trustees have comments to make? Who would like to begin? Or I will begin if no one else would like to. I have some concerns about access through the library parking lot. We have many programs in the past that have filled the parking lot as it is. I have concerns about adding another layer of things that would fill our parking lot. I know right now we don't have a ton of people in there, but we'll get back to that.
No, and again, I mean, I personally, I don't know if I'm talking over you. I just saw your mouth moving, but I'm not sure.
This was Kathy who's been speaking.
Oh, okay. It looked like it stopped, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm finished.
Oh, okay, perfect. It's a tough signal over here where I am, so no, I completely understand that, and that's why we came up with the Plan B. To weave something off of Roosevelt up on an angle towards the corner there. So if in general there was a consensus of let's avoid the library parking lot, that's perfectly fine. We'll just continue with Plan B. We do plan to have signage that would let people know that parking in the library parking lot is not ideal, and to park over at Booger Marsh if they can. Other than that, if there's no other concerns or questions on parking, there was just one other thing that we were looking to add to address.
Chris,
Yeah, I had a question. So one of the things you had mentioned was a possible expansion of the lot for 10 to 12 spots on the south end. But I couldn't understand where you would put it, given the diagram that you sent, because the south is gonna be.
The orchard side.
Huh?
The orchard side would be the south.
but where would those parking spaces go?
So early on, when we were looking at that spot, I had walked it with the prior chair that was kind of heading this dog park committee. We walked it off and we kind of measured just for very early information, and similar to the opposite of where those would be, we had measured off that you could easily have another roughly 12 spots. Essentially, it would mirror what's directly across from it. And it wouldn't affect or go anywhere near the trees for the orchard. That is more of a long term. That's not something that we're looking to do now. That's a long term, should it be needed. Should the library be looking to expand, maybe we can look together and say, what else can we do for parking?
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your diagram, that current orchard, I mean, do you have your diagram in front of you?
I do. Yep. That's currently where the orchard is now.
So that's where you would put the, or you would just move the orchard where? Down?
Nope. So if any type of parking was approved for that side,
Yeah.
based on the current angles of the spots directly across from that, it wouldn't come anywhere near the orchard. There would still be at least a 10 to 15 foot buffer from the blocks to the orchard itself. Because we totally understand, obviously, that's a beautiful area. We don't want to touch that. It's not our place to touch it.
Right.
And another thing that was brought up to me as well was the memorial bench, which absolutely, that's, if anything, we would like to clear some of that overgrowth and kind of enhance that a little bit with natural seating that could benefit both the library and the dog park patrons, anything like that.
Okay. You said that would be, I didn't have any, I didn't have objections to it. I just couldn't figure out where it was. So,
yeah.
Okay. So, but you're talking about if that happened at all, that would be long-term.
Exactly. That would be something long-term. And who knows, based on the usage, Booger Marsh might be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It may never even come up or be a thought.
Right, right.
But it's definitely something that, we're sensitive to the parking. We can share the same concerns that we don't want people plugging up that lot.
Yeah, no, I also thought, because the reason I was thinking of it, because I did think, yeah, at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if we did need more parking.
Yeah.
For libraries. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a popular place, that's for sure.
yeah. Okay, all right, thank you.
Other trustees, do you have comments?
I do. I have a question and a comment. My question is, why was Plan A to go through the library parking lot and Plan B to come from Roosevelt? What was the issue with not using Roosevelt first? Is there some reason why you wanted to do it through the library?
More or less because we were looking to more, not really the dog park may or may not enhance the library services, but we were kind of looking at more of a, if it came off the library lot, it wouldn't be as long of a run to breach the wall to put the entrance, which is, again, it's not necessarily a huge deal. But also the way that there may be patrons that go to the library, get a book, they come back, they do their thing with the dog, or vice versa. Somebody from the library that's already there may want to come over to the dog park and sit in that area over there. More or less looking at, I guess, adding an amenity to the area. But it doesn't need to. That's why Plan A versus Plan B. It doesn't need to come off the library lot.
Okay. And my only other comment too was that area that you were talking about for additional parking,
Mhm.
that it was initially set up so that it is overflow parking for the library already. And it mostly has gotten used in the past during children's summer reading programs, when there's so many cars that are coming into the library. That's what that grass side was used for.
Oh, okay. All right. I was gonna say the Booger Marsh lot, but yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, the grass side there. Yeah.
Yeah, that grass area.
Yeah. Now, like I said, that's not something that's short term, more long term if it's needed, and we'd be more than happy to, depending on what the coffers look like down the road, we'd be more than happy to partner up with it and work on something together. So.
Okay. I have
Chris?
another question. I'm not really, I'm not a dog person, so how is this park compared to other parks, the size of it? Is that like, that's about the same, the size? Is it smaller? Is it bigger? Is it,
It's roughly an acre, which is on the smaller side.
okay,
If you walk the area, it's pretty decent size for the purpose of it. We're not looking to look for anything huge. We walked it, we kind of measured it off, and it's perfect, really.
well, I was wondering, is it big enough? Because or would you need to go and try to expand it again? That's what I was thinking.
There would be no way to expand that. That land itself belongs to the fire department, and they actually just put a new septic and a new leach field, which actually knocked us back like another 10 feet from where the original border was on the east.
Okay,
And the property owner to the south, there's a property owner that owns a swath of land to the south of where that would be. So there's no way possible to expand it.
okay.
David, have your studies indicated how many dogs you expect to be using this on a daily basis?
Honestly, no. We've visited Portsmouth at various times. We've visited Barrington at various times. At Barrington, I've seen no more than 10, 15 dogs at any given time on random time slots. The most popular times seem to be evening hours and weekends in the morning. So.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
By any chance, I don't know about, I've never been to a dog park, but do any of the dog parks have any type of advertising? Or do you anticipate having advertising? I'm just curious.
The only thing that I could see us having is basic signage. I don't want anything that would look commercial. I would prefer to not even think about having any type of advertiser, like a donor's sign. We'll throw it out there just for the sake of it. Twin River, for example. I would not, to me, that's aesthetics that wouldn't look good. Anybody that wants to donate business wise, fantastic. We would like to have something similar to Grinnell's, a plaque that at least recognizes them, but something that blends in versus any type of big signage. I'm not a big fan of the commercial look.
I wasn't advocating it. I was just asking if they did have it.
Yeah, no, we don't plan to. I don't want to make that area look commercialized.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, blend in as much as we can.
Kim, were you okay? You lit up as if you were wanting to say something.
No, I was typing. Sorry.
Catherine, I'm going to ask you to comment on your feelings about this.
Sure. So I am in support of having sort of the community center feel around this area, particularly with the Bolgamarsh Park and the Sandy Woods Complex and the library here. My concerns revolve around dog waste on our property. As you all know, there are several things that I always say I never thought I'd have to do that as a library director. And I'm really hoping that picking up dog waste is not going to be one of those things. So that is my main concern about dog waste. And going on to that, also the proximity to the memorial bench is something that I have to be very cognizant of. I was not here when John Fitzgerald was working here, but I know the legacy that he has left behind and how quiet and serene of a place that is, and that those who knew him and think of his life and celebrate his life would like it to stay a quiet and serene spot. There was also an issue earlier this year where the stone seat had been knocked off the footings. So that was something that we did have to have repaired. And I'm just worried that increased traffic, not necessarily for the purpose of the memorial, could impact that area and make it something that it was not intended to be. And not have it as quiet and serene as it had been. So those are my concerns around those two. If you'd like to comment on dog waste or the memorial bench area, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, so absolutely. So I totally share the dog waste. As of right now, it looks like the former chair, he had offered to purchase 4 dog waste stations that would be placed around the park itself. With that usually comes concern about off leash. So Tiverton does have a leash ordinance. I know that at least in Barrington, the animal control officer is pretty visible around the dog park area. They'll issue warnings and they'll issue citations if they have to. So from the car to the dog park, that's no different because by ordinance, they need to be on leash. If there's an issue there or it becomes an issue, we can ask the ACO to keep an eye on it and issue the warnings or the citations, whatever they need to do. But there should be absolutely no reason whatsoever why a dog is off leash, and especially being walked on that library grass, considering that they're going to a dog park to run around and socialize. We have no problem volunteer group wise patrolling it, keeping an eye on it. If there's any concerns, taking those concerns and then monitoring it ourselves. Again, with the signage, it's going to be similar to what Portsmouth has for signage. We tend to find from our visits to Portsmouth and Barrington that you're going to get those 1 or 2 that initially may have their dog run to the fence. Not a smart move, but for the most part, the folks that visit are respectful of why they're there and why they're going there. To address the bench itself, again, very early on, it may have been you actually that we were talking about this. We don't plan on having anything anywhere near that. If anything, we would like to enhance the area that's up against the stone wall. Right now, there's a lot of overgrowth. If you guys were to say, when the time comes, if you guys were to say, avoid that section of the overgrowth, but the overgrowth on the, we'll call it Roosevelt side, from where you guys can see the Plan A pathway, the overgrowth near the orchard, if that was something that you guys said, yeah, fine, let's clear that up. Let's put natural wood bench seats, maybe any type of little garden area, whatever it may be, flowers, just to enhance that. That's that's our initial thought. We don't have to touch anything north of the stone wall if the library board says no. And we totally, again, as far as I'm concerned, and I can pass that word on, we totally respect the memorial bench. Absolutely. Should be no reason why anybody should be abusing anything like that.
All right, any other comments from trustees?
Yes, I'll say that my concern is for library patrons and their children who may not feel comfortable around dogs. There are people who have had bad experiences. There are children who get frightened, and to put them in the position of, well, when can I go to the library and there won't be, and it may be a large friendly dog bouncing around or dogs barking from the car. I would prefer that library patrons have the option, if they are dog people, after they finish at the library, to walk around to Roosevelt and watch the dogs play, as opposed to having that contact sort of forced upon them because the dogs are going in and out from the library parking lot.
Yeah, I completely and totally respect it. And I'll be honest with you, early on looking at that spot, it was just kind of a, walkway from the library parking lot. It's not lost on me, and it hasn't been lost on me since that, okay, maybe not that spot, but plan B coming up off of Roosevelt versus cutting across that swath. So, consensus wise on your end, if you guys are saying, we have concerns, I share those concerns. Hindsight, looking back on it now versus the initial thought, I share those concerns. And again, we have no problem with plan B. So.
David, one point too is that there's some space to, if you're looking south at the orchard, to the right of it, is that where you're thinking of plan B for the entrance?
Correct. Essentially where that drainage culvert is, we would be coming off of that corner where the stone wall essentially ends. There's a large oak there that's got a property marker on it. We would come off of there, around that culvert, and directly down to Roosevelt.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I had a good vision of where that was.
Yeah, as clean of a pathway as we can make and as south as we can hug.
Will the park have opening and closing hours, or will it be open 24 hours? How does that work?
Fantastic question. So it should, I actually honestly have not paid attention to the sign enforcement as far as open and close. There should be no reason whatsoever why it shouldn't follow the rest of the town properties. Sunrise, sunset type thing. We do not plan to put any lighting there, so that would discourage anybody from being there in the dark. And I know that maybe for winter purposes, that kind of stinks with it getting dark around 4:30, but it really, I mean, other than the southern property that abuts that, which is just basically land, there are some abutters to the south and a couple of abutters to the southwest. So we want to respect that as well. Believe it or not, there's generally not a lot of noise at a dog park. There may be some barking while they're heading in, but once the dogs are in, there's not a lot of noise at all. But that's an excellent question. It's something I can bring to the committee and say, hey, listen, something that was brought up is sunrise, sunset, open, close. What are we looking at here? That one, you got me on that one, Stanford. So I'll definitely write that one down.
Any other comments? All right, we do not have a possible vote listed on the agenda.
Yeah.
Do we, Carol, give me a hand here.
Yeah, it was a discussion. Do we need Catherine, what are your feelings?
As far as a vote goes?
Right. Do you want to see us vote? Do we just, want to voice our preference one by one for the location of the entrance and leave it as an informal sort of straw poll?
I think that would be good, if you all could voice your opinions to Mr. Paul so that he can take that back to the dog park committee.
Okay,
Chris?
I would just suggest, rather than trying to have a vote, you can say what you're thinking and just say consensus. The consensus of the committee was, so that doesn't get into your voting stuff, so it doesn't, because there's no vote on that, and that's a consensus I think would work.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know the legality standpoint of the agenda item itself. Personally, again, from hindsight, looking back, thinking about it, and from talking to you guys and having this discussion, I would abandon Plan A and stick with Plan B. That's 100% my words to you guys. So as far as even having a vote, you know, if you guys do want to go through and just kind of give your consensus, that's fine. I don't want to get you guys in a legal jam either, so.
All right, I will begin. I love the idea of a dog park, and I would feel much more comfortable with Plan B for the location of the entrance.
Yeah.
I'll go around Hollywood Squares and I'll call on Carol.
And I would echo that. My preference would be to have the entrance from Roosevelt.
Kim?
Am I allowed to have an opinion because I am on the committee for the dog park?
Oh, do you feel you have a conflict of interest here as a trustee?
No, I'm just asking because I don't know.
Well, we're not putting it to a formal vote. It's just an opinion.
Oh,
No, yep. Okay, I would agree with the two of you that Plan B should be Plan A.
Pam?
Wow, I like that. I like how you worded that.
Pam?
I would agree with that also.
Sandy?
Yeah, I think Plan B is the preferred alternative.
And Chris?
I'm fine with the Plan B. So it's I would just say consensus.
Yeah,
All right, the
absolutely.
consensus of the trustees is that the entrance described as Plan B is our preferred method to enter the dog park.
Absolutely. Perfect. Yep. No sweat at all. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate you guys chiming in for me. If you don't have anything else, I'll just summarize as far as, you know, I totally, again, respect that bench area. Zero plans to encroach on that. And again, quite honestly, zero plans to do anything north of that wall without coming back to you guys.
Can I just ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
Just out of curiosity, when do you plan on embarking on starting the work to set up the park?
So it was pretty much hinging on this meeting here, consensus on Plan A, Plan B, or any concerns that the library would have. Now that we've addressed all that, we're finally going to have an official dog park meeting and start moving forward from there.
Well, just to follow up to that as well, look from the memo you put together, it looks like there's going to be some substantial land clearing and land work. How are they accessing the property?
They would come in through Station 3 off of Crandall Road.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a large area where they did septic work and leach field work that's cleared already. So by default, we now have an entrance for that to be able to get in. Definitely selective clearing. We do not want to just wipe out a bunch of trees and have this ugly opening. Selective clearing is best. It'll provide a canopy for the park itself, and it'll help it blend in as well. So,
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, David, thank you very much. This sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. And you guys have my email. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, whether you have to send it through Catherine or if you want to contact me directly, I'm here for you guys. No sweat.
Thanks
Right.
so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Take
Thank you.
care.
Take care.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Take care.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled meeting. Let's move on to our reports. Treasurer's report.
Okay, so just grab my summary here. Give me one sec just to switch gears. Okay, so we are finishing out our fiscal year 20. And there is one thing, one larger thing still pending, and that is the shelving. It has taken us a while to get the rep down here from the shelving company. That was an item voted on at the, I want to say, February trustees meeting. So that's really one of the outstanding things from fiscal year 20 we're still working on. There are some other small things still coming in as well. So I'm hoping towards the August meeting, but most likely towards the September meeting, I'll have a final fiscal year 20 report for you.
19,
20,
fiscal year 19, you mean?
20.
Okay, what do we do? Oh, okay, the new one's going to be 21.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Thank you.
Which we're technically in right now. But so for June, primary expenses were very similar to May. It was payroll and benefits, our collection materials, so book purchases and periodicals purchase, building maintenance and contracts, and also COVID-related expenses. So just really stocking up on cleaning supplies and making sure that we are never lower than we feel comfortable with as far as those supplies go. We were able to have work floor repaired in June, so Debnor Flooring came out. We are still having some issues with it, so I do need to contact them again. It just seems like with the increase in the humidity, we can definitely feel it in here. Some of the tiles are not fitting as nicely together, some of the newer tiles. So I'm going to have them come back out and make sure that those are resized just ever so slightly. It's like off by probably 1 millimeter. And so that's causing it to lift up again. So that was an expense in June. And that was actually one of our big building list items. So we're getting there. And also for June, I know there was some discussion about the electric bill. So the usage had increased. I've reached out to the Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources and National Grid, and they actually have a program where National Grid will come out for free and do an energy audit of our building. And actually today I heard from the auditor, and he will be out next Tuesday, the 27th. So he's really going to go over our systems with a fine-tooth comb to see where that increase is coming from. And that's what I have for monthly income and expense reports. I will move on now to Bank Newport. If there's no questions about monthly income and expense. Okay. So Bank Newport, again, very little activity. We have not had in-person programs going on. And also we have not been hiring artists or performers like we normally would for our summer programs. We have had some virtual programs with virtual artists, but it is nowhere near to where we usually are in the summer. So in the long run, that's a good thing for us because we really need to be conscious of our programming funds over the next, I would say 2 to 3 years, really. The Friends have decided to cancel their craft fair for this year, which normally happens in October. So without their 2 major fundraising events, the book sale in June and the craft fair in October, our programming funds are definitely something we want to be very mindful of in spending. There was one sort of outreach activity that we did expend funds on. That was $260 to the Tiverton Farmers Market, which is right in our neighborhood here at Sandy Woods. And our Adult Services and Programs librarian, Deb, is attending that each week in July. And she is handing out free books, letting folks know what library services are going on right now, and also passing out activity kits for kids. And this is really our only outreach activity this summer. So we felt that was a very good use of programming funds. And that completes my Bank Newport account summary. Any questions for the treasurer's report? Okay.
I'm having a brain fart. Do we need to vote to accept that, Carol?
We typically don't.
I didn't think so, but suddenly I wasn't sure. Moving on to the director's report.
Great. So first off, I have a typo in my summary here. I said we reopened the building for limited hours on June 22nd. It was the 27th, so I apologize for that. But even just in those limited number of days, we saw 146 people in the month of June come through our doors. So that was really heartening to see that our patrons are returning, and it's just really been a wonderful experience to see everyone back again. We have had amazing patrons having compliance with our mask mandate, which has been great, and it has really felt like everybody is wanting to keep each other safe, which is wonderful. We also have drive-through and porch pickups. We fulfilled over 300 orders throughout the entire month of June, and this has been a really fantastic service that we've been able to really run with, and we feel patrons really love it. Even with our limited building hours, our porch pickups and our drive-through pickups are available our normal service hours. So despite us not being open for the full hours that we usually are, library services are still available for all those hours. And I think that has really been a great way to keep in touch with our patrons and make sure that we're best serving. Things are less than ideal right now. One other thing was June's e-zone usage was slightly under May's usage, and I think this was back to libraries reopening. Most libraries, I don't know of any that reopened in May. Most Rhode Island public libraries have reopened in June to some capacity, and we're also starting to see the return of our delivery system. So that has been a major factor in folks being able to get physical materials again, and our library staff are still focusing on virtual programming, so you'll still see some program statistics in there, but it has all been virtual programming. And if there's no questions about statistics and usage, I'll just go into a bit more on our reopening plan and services as far as that goes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have had a great time with porch pickup and drive-through pickup. We're still going to continue that as long as we can for those patrons who are just not comfortable coming back into the building or are at a high risk where they really just want minimal contact. So we're going to continue that. I would love to open the stacks in the main library area within the next 1 to 2 weeks. That has probably been the most requested patron want right now. So our patrons have missed us. They want to browse the stacks. So as long as we're going to be setting up some signage and making sure that we're in compliance with all of our state guidelines, we're hoping to open those stacks back up pretty soon. The teen library and children's library will still remain closed for a while longer. The fantastic thing that we've been able to do, though, is really use our outdoor space. So during the hours of 11 to 4, Monday through Friday, our teen librarian is actually sitting at the emergency exit door. And we have materials for teens out on the porch there. And we're also doing limited browsing in the teen library right now. So if folks are interested in browsing some displays, then they can certainly come in while Rebecca is there. And so we're using sort of a little bit of indoor-outdoor space there. We're also doing the same thing on the children's side of the building. And so the children's library program room doors open. And that is Monday and Thursday, 11 to 2. And our children's librarian or children's staff are there, and they're handing out activity kits, also packing up summer reading program items. And we have even taken books and book browsing. We call them book browsers. They're like bins that all the books go in that you can flip through pretty easily. We have them outside, actually right outside my office window in the courtyard on those days. So we still have some sort of browsing happening in those departments. And I think it's really been great to see how we've been able to creatively use our space when we have some obstacles in our way. So very happy with how browsing's been going, how visits have been going, how pickups have been going, and we're doing pretty well as far as those sorts of services go. So we're going to be looking to start phase 3, a little bit of it with the stacks towards the end of July, and then hopefully in August, maybe meeting rooms. We'll see. Things change very quickly, so we'll see what happens. Yes.
Can I ask the teen library, that's 11 to 4 every day that the library's open?
Yes, as long as Rebecca's in the room. And sometimes it'll say, like, if it's a really, really hot day, it'll say knock on the door and Rebecca will open the door. But we actually purchased a screen that goes on the door and it has magnets down the center. So it's almost like a curtain where you can go in. We almost had an unfortunate event with a bird flying in there. So it was a necessary purchase.
I
And you said,
understand.
I'm sorry, the children's library, that wasn't every day though, right?
No, it's 11 to 2 Mondays and Thursdays.
Mondays and Thursdays. Thank
Yep,
you.
yep. And even if there's like a different time that somebody would like to come in, we're looking at expanding hours hopefully pretty soon. And also our staff are amazing and would be more than happy to pull. Like, I know personally, I've seen staff pulling books and putting them on a cart and, you know, bringing them out to someone as sort of like a VIP cart or whatever you want to call it. So we'll do that for everyone though. Everyone's a VIP here.
Now, did I see that you had a little furry visitor to the children's courtyard area?
Okay, so that is, you know, this building never ceases to amaze me. It appears to be living in a drain. So our exterminator is coming on Thursday. And so I'll ask him about different issues, how that kind of works, because I'll say overall, I would like to be humane instead of just, you know, closing it off and potentially having little groundhogs or little woodchucks in there, whatever they are. So yes, we have a little fuzzy creature. And the cute part, this is the cute part of my director's report, is that he has a baby bunny friend who he frolics around the library property with. So if you needed some of that news today, there it is.
Yeah, that sounds like the beginning of your first book, Catherine.
It does, doesn't it?
I have
Carol?
a question, Catherine, about browsing. When patrons browse through books, do you have them use hand sanitizer first? Do they wear gloves, or do you just then any book that they touch, do you end up quarantining?
So yes, we ask they use hand sanitizer prior to that. Sometimes it is a little busy. We haven't reached our 10-person capacity yet. But if for some reason we didn't see that they had used hand sanitizer before, like we have this stand in the entryway where pretty much everybody who's come in has used it, which is great. If we didn't see that they used hand sanitizer, or we see they touch their face and then touch the books, those items go into our book drop. And what we do with our book drop is we empty both the exterior one in the drive-through and the interior one in the library. We only empty that once a day, and then those items are set aside to quarantine for 72 hours. So if folks are seeing that their items it's taking a little while to get checked in, or they get a notice that their item hasn't been checked in, it's overdue, fear not. It is just because of quarantine process. And we were actually doing it for 24 hours. But the new research from, it's called the Realm Project and also OCLC, came out and said that the virus can live on items up to 72 hours. So we immediately moved towards the 72-hour quarantine. This is also the case with our delivery bins. So when our delivery bins come into us, they need to sit for 72 hours also, because they could have potentially the Monday pickups could be coming to us on Tuesday. So if folks are noticing that things are taking a little longer to get here, that is also why. So I apologize for any inconvenience. We are just trying to do the safest possible method of getting books to folks and making sure that things in circulation are safe for them.
Thank you.
That was a long answer. Sorry about that.
Any other comments?
Have you put that on the website so that patrons know that they might be getting those late notices?
Yes, and also it's printing at the bottom of their checkout receipts. So
Okay.
that was another way that Ocean State Libraries has helped us out with that. And we had also posted it on social media too. I think it went out last Thursday, just so patrons were aware. So yes, we'll keep pushing that out because I think it's really important. And I know there are some folks who have called to be really nervous and say like, oh, my items haven't checked in. Like, they're definitely here. We're just not touching them for a little while.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Let's move back to new business and the 5-year plan update.
Sure.
Catherine.
You get me again. So as far as the 5-year plan goes, I have, I always have this on my mind. We have pretty much touched on all of our objectives and goals to a certain extent. Some we've completely completed, like reopening on Tuesdays here at the main library or at the Union Library on Saturday, which I think is fantastic. So I feel we're in a very, very good position with this plan. I do think possibly in the next year, I may want to meet with the planning subcommittee just to go over some of these and see if we need to make any adjustments. The only thing why I would say we shouldn't do that right now is because so many things have been sort of upended by COVID. And a lot of our programming goals, we were right on track to complete those and have new programs coming in with businesses and additional artists coming in. But right now it's just not possible. We can do it in a virtual format, but oftentimes that's not the best way to do like a painting landscapes program, something like that. So we are really trying to refocus on getting programs to folks and getting materials to them when they can't necessarily come into the library. So we've had sort of that shift towards homebound services, towards virtual programs. And for all libraries, this has been a really challenging time in sort of making sure, are we doing enough? Are we doing too much? Are we doing the right amount? That's something I think all libraries are asking themselves every day. So as far as the plan goes, I think we're doing great. And I think for the next year, we may have to just deviate from the plan a little bit to make sure that we're really bringing services to our community in this time of need. And another thing I would like to point out is that we had our survey. So this was really informative to tell us that Sundays are still a priority. Programming is still something we should be focusing on. So that was really helpful to see those results from those survey participants reflect still what's in the plan. So that has been something that was really, really great to see. And I think that might be it. I know previously I had done like a checklist and like green, we completed this goal, but I think for right now, that is different from what it was because we could have completed in the past and had those programs planned, but it's just much different right now. So if you would prefer sort of like the checklist method, I can certainly do that for the next plan update. But I figured more of an organic approach to this update was necessary for the times that we're in right now. And my recommendation overall would just be to hold off on implementing any new services until we have a better idea of where our fiscal 21 budget stands. I'm about halfway through the last budget committee meeting, but we still don't have any idea about state grant and aid. We still don't have an idea about what will be on the FTR for the library budget. So this is really something that's up in the air. And I think the services that we have.
I think that sounds logical to me. Any other comments, questions?
I think you're taking the right approach with our 5-year plan. It was obviously written for non-COVID times, and given that how many things have changed, and as you said, we have to be nimble, we have to be flexible, trying to meet patron needs during this special time, which is very different from the normal times that we wrote the plan for. So I 100% support that approach. And when we're back to more normal operations, then the, 5-year plan, we can take a closer look at.
I'm typically sort of like a push through, like, let's get it going kind of person, but this has really been an interesting time. So thank you.
All right, if we have, Pam, are you wanting
No,
to say
I'm sorry.
something?
I was tapping on my computer.
Yep, all right. If we have no other questions or comments, that's the end of our agenda, and I would recommend that we make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I'll
Is there
move
a
to
second?
adjourn.
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you all for coming, and I hope someday to see you in person.
That would be nice.
All right, take care, everybody.
Thank
Hi,
you.
everyone.